南无阿弥陀仏。南无阿弥陀仏。南无阿弥陀仏. Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Marvin Harada from the Orange County Buddhist Church, and I'm recording a Dharma talk from my home during this coronavirus situation. This will be posted, I believe, on the Orange County Buddhist Church YouTube channel the last Sunday of March, this coming Sunday. Today is the 24th of March that I'm recording this. My talk today is, as you see on the screen, wisdom from my mother. So, my mother is Ruth Harada, and she's 91 years of age. She lives on her own still in Eastern Oregon. She still drives, so she has a very active and healthy life in Eastern Oregon. But I wanted to share with you today the fact that in Shin Buddhism, anyone and anything can be a teacher to you. Our teachers are not limited to a Buddhist scholar or a Buddhist master or a minister. So a parent could be a teacher, a grandparent can be a teacher, a life experience, even something as harsh as being diagnosed with cancer can be a teacher of life to you. Even someone you regard as your greatest enemy or the person that's the greatest thorn in your side, that person can be a real teacher, a teacher in a spiritual sense to you. So today I'd like to share some wisdom from my mother. She had no formal training in Buddhism or particular study of Buddhism, but my feeling is that her life experiences itself and her family background in Buddhism, her parents, my grandparents, were very devout Buddhists, Shin Buddhists, which gives her, I think, a depth of wisdom that I'd like to share something in particular today. So this is a conversation that I had with my mother a number of years ago. I can't date it, when it was, or what caused the conversation, but she was talking about her early years of growing up, and she has talked about her early years before with me and growing up. But I just remember one particular conversation in which she was talking about her life growing up during the Depression, extreme poverty, the racial discrimination that they faced, the World War II that was going on, and then being sent to an internment camp, as all Japanese Americans were sent to. So, especially, first of all, the poverty that she experienced during the Depression. She has these heart-wrenching stories about what she went through. They were so poor, she only had one school dress. So every day after she came home from school, she would hand wash that dress and then hang it up so she could wear it the next day. She would come home from school, change into her really, really raggedy clothes, and then wash that one school dress. So every day she had to wear this same dress to school. She mentioned one time a girl at school said to her, "You wear the same dress every day. Don't you have any other clothes to wear?" And my mother was, too embarrassed to say that was her only dress for school. Her lunch, her school lunch that she brought from home was 2 pieces of bread and this sandwich spread. It's kind of like a tartar sauce. It had mayonnaise and some relish or something in it. So that was her school lunch. No bologna, no tuna fish, turkey, no meat of any kind. Just 2 pieces of bread and this sandwich spread was her daily school lunch. As a young child, young person, of course, she wanted things that other kids had. She said one time she really wanted roller skates really bad, and she asked her parents for roller skates, and they said, "Well, we can't afford it, but if you work really hard this year on the farm, they had a farm, they had a fruit orchard. If you work really hard, maybe by at the end of the year when we have the harvest, we can afford to get you some roller skates." And so she worked so hard that year, hoping that she would be able to get some roller skates, but it was never to be. So you can imagine that kind of disappointment that you go through when you work hard, but still you don't get what you want, like other children have. Also, all Japanese Americans at that time faced intense racial discrimination. And after the war broke out, many businesses put signs up in their stores, no Japs allowed. They didn't allow, they didn't want any Japanese American customers. And so they all faced that kind of harsh or very severe racial discrimination. But yet, my mother holds no bitterness towards other ethnicities at this time. At her age, she has friends of all racial backgrounds. And then, with the outbreak of the war, Japanese Americans were shipped by train to internment camps. My mother recalls going in this train. The windows were all blacked out or covered. They couldn't see out the window. There were armed guards on the train. They had no idea where they were going, where they were being brought to, what was going to happen. Of course, some people thought the worst of what their fate might be. So those are the kinds of harsh experiences of life that my mother went through when she was young. So when she's talking about these experiences, this is some years ago when we were talking about this, she said something that was very striking. Without any fear in her voice and with sort of a sense of confidence, she said, "Well, if something like that happened again, we had a depression or terrible something terrible would happen in the world, she said, I could take it. I could take it." Meaning, because she had gone through that experience, she wasn't afraid of anything that could happen in our world or society. She had that kind of life experience, confidence, stemming from those early years of her life. So I think, reflecting on that, life experience can give us a sense of spiritual fortitude, spiritual strength, inner strength, such that we can say with confidence, I could take it. I could take it no matter what comes. I could take it. And that's what people of that generation, like my parents and anyone whose parents or grandparents grew up in that era, developed that kind of self-confidence and inner fortitude based on what they went through in life. So if you add to that, for my mother, the fact that my grandparents or her parents were quite devout Shin Buddhists, I think that all contributed to the what I would call spiritual fortitude that my mother has come to receive in her life. So now let's bring it to the present, and we're all faced with this terrible, terrible coronavirus pandemic. We have a sense of fear, anxiety, uneasiness, something we've never ever experienced before, in our life. So, how do we deal with this? How do we face it? We have this fear, will I get it? Will I get the virus? Will my loved ones get it? And how do we cope with that fear of the unknown? But I think from this Buddhist standpoint that this can be our opportunity for a life experience that gives us a spiritual fortitude, inner strength that will carry on throughout our life. When my mother said, I could take it if something were to happen again, depression or whatever, I could take it. It made me think, what about me? Do I have that kind of spiritual fortitude to be able to say that? And so now I challenge myself to allow this experience to be my nurturing of spiritual strength so that I too can say, like my mother, I could take it too. So in Shin Buddhism, we're quite unique in the Buddhist tradition in that we don't try to enlighten ourselves. Instead, we find ourselves within enlightenment. We are the ones that are enlightened or awakened to truth or to true reality. It's not something we can conjure up ourselves, but it comes to us. So we cannot conjure it up or create, in that sense, our own spiritual fortitude. We can't say to ourselves, I'm going to make myself spiritually stronger on my own volition. We can't do that, just like we can't enlighten ourselves. But life experience is what gives us the opportunity to be nurtured and to have spiritual fortitude. So true reality, true life experience gives us spiritual fortitude. So as crazy as it might sound, I think we have to embrace what we are going through right now. We cannot escape from the virus. The virus is here. It's in the world. It's in our society. Of course, we hope that we won't get it. We hope that our loved ones won't get it. But the reality of the situation is that it is here, it's in our country, in our state, in our communities. And so we can do all that we can to help prevent its spread, as we are all doing by social distancing. We had to cancel all of our church or temple services. We have no services, no activities at our Orange County Buddhist Church right now, because we're all trying to do what we can to help prevent the spread of this terrible virus. But at the same time, we don't have to let our fear and our anxiety of the situation overtake our lives. So through our own self-reflection, we can learn many things from this experience. We can come to receive wisdom and spiritual fortitude from this experience. So think about our life just a few months ago. I don't know, maybe even 2 or 3 months ago. We complained about the traffic. We complained about how busy our work was. Or we complained about someone at work that was driving us crazy. We complained about our frequent business trips. If we would go out to eat, maybe we complained about the poor service at the restaurant, or maybe the quality of the food. We might have complained if our favorite sports team was losing. We might have complained about the price of gas. We might have complained about taking care of parents or raising our children. Maybe we complained about our bosses at work, or if we're the boss, about our employees. But look at us now. If we could take back that life that we had 2 or 3 months ago, we would take it in an instant, wouldn't we? Because now we can't work except maybe from our home. We cannot travel. We cannot be with friends and family as we wish. we would take back that life that we complained about 3 months ago, like that, if we could have it again. Because now we can't go to restaurants, we can't watch sporting events, and we can't even go to Las Vegas. That's the one that's hurting me a lot. My gosh, when can I go to Las Vegas again? It might be months. So, despite this terrible virus and this really ordeal that we're all going through, still, I think there's something to learn. There's something to realize. There's something that we can awaken to. And there's something that we can receive through this really terrible ordeal that we're going through. And although, attending churches and temples is right now, it's considered a non-essential activity as compared to going to the drugstore, grocery store. We're allowed to go do those essential things. But gathering at our churches or temples are not considered an essential activity. But in another sense, the Dharma, the Buddha Dharma, addressing our spiritual needs at this difficult time, I think that's the most essential thing that we can do right now. So although we may not be able to physically attend services, we can still find ways to learn, to listen, to reflect, to receive the Dharma via the internet like this, maybe reading books. I'm sure we all have books on Buddhism or Shin Buddhism that we've purchased and that's sitting on our shelf. I have many books I have not read yet. We can continue to self-reflect on this, what we're going through. We can talk to our friends still by the phone. We can share our life experience. We can share emails. We can text one another. So there are still many ways that we can find to listen, learn, reflect, and receive the Dharma despite our sort of social isolation that we're going through right now by staying in our homes. So that's my message I wanted to share today. Wisdom that I received from my mother, a conversation that I had with her some years ago, reflecting on it in light of what we're going through today. I hope that we can all come to receive spiritual fortitude, inner spiritual strength, the Buddha Dharma as the foundation of our life, through which we can face and live through any difficulty of life. And in so doing, come to experience even joy, reverence, and gratitude. Samanda, samanda, samanda.